business is largely about making money. But it is clear that if you are very rich, but you are unhappy, then really you have achieved nothing. And what I find strange is that there are so many people in the world who seem not to have spent the time asking what it is that they truly want in life. For me, the answer is happiness and love. And they are kind of like, to some degree, brother and sister, but maybe more accurately, the same thing, just looked at from different sides. You cannot have deep, abiding, long-term happiness without love. And similarly, if you are constantly giving out to others, but not looking after yourself, not supporting yourself, not being nurtured, then your lack of happiness will actually have an impact on the degree of love that you are able to give. So the two have to work in harmony. And the other thing with love, which a lot of people seem to forget, is that love, if you recognize happiness as the most important thing, then you'd realize that love, if you truly love, and if the most important thing is happiness, then love is about creating the conditions in which other people can be as happy as possible. Where at times that means actively doing things, but very often it's more about the energy, the space, the acceptance, the respect that you have for others. And that can be done without money, without expenditure of time and effort and all of that. And that's why an enlightened person like Sri Sri is able to give so enormously of his love, because it's a state of being rather than really so much a doingness. When you see as many people as he sees each and every day, he would be utterly exhausted if he were not developed to the state that his very presence is self-nurturing and that then flows to others. Now, I'm enjoying the fact that I'm in India and I can talk about some of these things. If I was in America or even Africa, there would be a lot of people saying, hold on, this is a conference where we're wanting just information on how to make money, a corporate confidence. What's this? This stuff about happiness and love. But when you look at it, what are the core aspects of business success? Well, certainly one aspect is customer service. If you're not serving your customers, you won't make much money. You won't stay around for very long. I did a training for the main phone company in Rwanda, a company called MTN. And I like the fact that they used the word customer care instead of customer service. That's what it is. It's about caring for people, about having your customers feel that you really want the best for them, that you're looking after them. Doesn't mean that you'll always be able to satisfy. There's always going to be some level of compromise. You don't get a Mercedes-Benz for a Tata price, Nano price. And at the same time, when you buy a Nano, you get the benefit of the price, but not quite the luxury of the Mercedes. I don't know if I should mention this. I think in some ways I'm being naughty, but I'll just throw in an aside. I heard some politicians trying to blame women for being raped, and saying, it's because of what they're wearing, they're just asking for it. And the question I ask myself, if that politician has a beautiful Mercedes, and he has his staff polish the Mercedes so it looks absolutely beautiful, now if someone steals that Mercedes, is he going to say, it was my fault for making it look so appealing and attractive? I don't think so. And in the same way, for a woman to shine and be beautiful and to be all of who she is, how can anyone speak negatively about that? The responsibility is for the man to be loving to women and to everyone. And to try to take that responsibility away and put it on someone else, that is just wrong. That is weak. And so what I was saying, before going on this digression, is that when you buy a Mercedes-Benz, you pay the high price and you get the quality. When you get the Tata Nano, that's the correct term, yeah? You get a cheap car in price and to some degree in quality and size and all of the other elements. So customer service isn't about doing a perfect job. It's about doing the best that you can for the customer. And the great thing with business is that you have a way of measuring the degree to which you are contributing. If you think that you're doing this amazing job by Apple, Steve Jobs, after he left Apple, this was a number of years ago, about 20 years ago, he had a company making computers, and they were beautiful machines, extremely expensive, and they hardly sold any. And, you know, that wasn't customer service. You have to choose the right thing for the market so they're getting the best mix. And you have to put yourself in the shoes of the customer in order to determine that, which is the same as what it is with love. For you to love your wife, your husband, you have to put yourself in the shoes of your partner to understand things from their perspective. If you have children and you just want them to do the sort of job that you did because that worked for you, or you just want them to do a job that pays lots of money because you think maybe that will make them happy, but really it's that you will feel less fear. That's not loving. Yeah? That's kind of a grasping. That's an overprotectiveness. Love is about allowing people to bloom fully as themselves and helping them to be as happy as possible. So customer service is essentially about care, about love. What else is there in business? Well, leadership, management. What's that? It's about bringing out the best in your workforce. Bring out the best in everyone that is working for you so they achieve the most for the company and also for themselves. That's a form of love. Yeah? And when you go through the different elements of business, maybe you need some capital. We saw the video of the little boy. Initially he bought one bottle of water and he sold it for 20 rupees, 10 rupee profit. He went back. He didn't have enough money to buy 4 bottles. I don't know if you worked that out. He only had enough money to buy 2 bottles, but because he was a trustworthy person, the vendor said, yeah, I'll give you 4 bottles. You come back and you pay me afterwards. And so building a business and growing and investing and working with others, that's also then about trust and support and love and all of these things. But in very, very many areas of business, you will be most successful when you actually operate in the most loving way, when you put yourself in the shoes of others. And when you look at the most successful people in the world, you have Bill Gates. Now, he has given away tens and tens of billions of dollars. His primary focus is philanthropy. Warren Buffett. I think he's gone down briefly to number 4. He was number 1, and then his kind of changes. Since giving away a huge amount of his fortune has increased. Even Carlos Slim has given away $7 billion of his income. And then you look at people like the Tatas. I'm not sure how loudly they talk about it. I don't live in India. I think they're probably relatively modest about it. But over 60% of their shares of Tata and Sons is in philanthropic trusts. It's set up purely to benefit the country. Now, what an extraordinary gift to the country. And I have no doubt that the level of trust, the level of engagement of its employees, the willingness of customers to buy from them, goes back partly to a conscious decision, yeah, this is a good company, but I suspect it even goes beyond. You create a milieu, an environment, an approach to business that has everyone recognize this is a group and these are people we trust. And then they thrive and they become a $100 billion company. The most valuable in India. As an individual company, Reliance is larger, but the Tata Group is larger than Reliance. And so, when you really work on that transformation of yourself, then you find win-win opportunities. Yeah? Now, the term was used today, socializing business. And I think that idea of expanding one's focus, not only to just making the money, but to the wider stakeholders, the wider community, is very important. And maybe this is because I was brought up in the West, but personally I wouldn't use the word socialize. I guess I like the word win-win. Win-win is essentially what business is about. It's not about, lose-win. To some degree, I did that. I run a training company that is also a non-profit company, social enterprise, as Dr. Prahlad was talking about. And I've created many, many, many millions of dollars of benefit for clients, and I would charge for that. But I guess my own personal aim was to do as much positive contribution as possible. And at times, I probably went too far. There were times I was essentially starving because I could see that the work that I could do would help to end a war or create a major transformation. But in retrospect, I possibly went a little bit too much on the lose-win side, in that there were 5 occasions where people wanted me to do training that could help a war re-erupting, help a war from starting again. And there were vice presidents or presidential advisors that I spoke to, and they said, yeah, we'd really love you to do this. And rebels wanted me to work with them. But I didn't have the money. And so that actually reduced the impact I had by going too far in helping. So I was kind of doing the lose-win. Now, the more typical thing for a businessman is the win-lose. I want to win, and I don't care if you lose. I'm not even thinking about you. But what happens with that is soon enough people don't trust him. So I'd like to have a bit of a look at global competitiveness. Now, if we look at America's top companies versus India's top companies versus my own country, Australia's top companies. According to Fortune magazine, they're the ones that do the lists of, the most wealthy individuals in the world and the top companies and all of this. They're the top people in that field. They had a look at a mixture of sales and profits, assets and market share to determine who they felt were the biggest company overall. So they used a mixture of them. And then this is what they found. Now, I've converted it into Indian rupees that I'm not so familiar with, and I've converted it into crores, which I'm not so familiar with. I'm more used to millions and billions. But I figured there's 700 of you, there's one of me, I guess I should speak your language. So if there are if I'm starting to say things that don't make any sense, someone tell me, and then I'll go back to to the original information. But hopefully I did my sums correctly. So what you're seeing is that in America, the largest company, Exxon, had 23 lakh crore rupees of sales. That's correct? Yeah? So basically, the top 10 companies, 113 lakh crore of sales, 11 lakh crore of profits, 416 lakh crore of assets, and 129 lakh crore market capitalization. For those of you who are not so business-minded, market capitalization is what the share market value a company at. If a company has a crore of shares and they are 100 rupees, then the market capitalization is 100 crore capitalization. Thank you. So that's in America. Now, 300 million people. It's a pretty wealthy country, the wealthiest in the world. Let's see how India compares. So, according to Fortune magazine, the largest company was Reliance, with 3.3 lakh crore of sales. And then they listed Tata Steel and Tata Motors and other Tata groups separately. So what I've done is I've taken the Tata group and then I've subtracted the Tatas, because that's within the group, and then I've added the others. And so if you do that, then you get a little more. You've got total sales for the country of 18 lakh crore. 1.4 lakh crore, 45 lakh crore of assets, and 19 in market share. And then let's have a look at Australia. Now, to put this in context, population of India, over 1.2 billion. Population of Australia, well, actually, first of all, what's the population of Kerala? About 34 million? Would it? So Australia is about 21 million. Yeah? So a lot less. You know, I have this idea when I see Australia play cricket, and, you know, I think you have 60 times as many people to choose from. So I think you should give us bonus points, you know, like a handicap. Maybe multiply our score by 60, something like that. I think that's fair. No? Anyway, so we only have 22 million people. So just remember, let's say the assets, okay? 45 lakh crore for the entire billion plus people in India. In Australia, 170 lakh crore for just 21 million people. Yeah? So it's actually bigger than India. Something like double the sales, 4 times the assets. So it suggests that while India is amazing in its level of entrepreneurship, amazing in the level of hard work and commitment by millions of entrepreneurs, and that it is really coming up in the world in terms of the big companies, if a tiny country like Australia is outperforming India, it suggests there is some room to grow. So if you have a look at the figures together, this is what it looks like. So you can see in terms of assets, actually Australia is doing pretty well. So of course this is the top 10 companies. So it's not like I'm taking the entire Australia compared to the entire America, yeah? But the top 10 companies in Australia compared to the top 10 in the US. And so you can see that we're about a third of America, and then India is about a quarter when it comes to assets. when it comes to sales, you have a bit more in terms of the sales. So you can see not so much investment, and that may suggest, I might be wrong in this, but possibly that suggests a shorter-term thinking. You out there to make the sales, but not necessarily making the investment in the company for the long term. So at least more sales, but still less than Australia, and massively less than America. So if we look at Australia just briefly, I can see why Commonwealth Bank is the best in the country. I trained 2,000 of their employees from pretty much every region of Australia. So obviously, it was my customer service training alone that led to their success. But yeah, so there's, and I also trained Macquarie Bank and some others. So basically, that's the figures when it comes to the largest companies. And I ask myself that question of, what is it that is holding India back? If it is so phenomenal in other ways, why is it that it hasn't quite made it in the global market? Now, Tata Group, I think it's about 59% of sales are global. So, you know, clearly India's doing some very good stuff, but not quite at the level that is possible. And I suspect that it comes down to three different elements. In looking at the keys to global competitiveness, I think one of the key things is the degree to which people seek excellence. And across the world, I feel people don't seek excellence enough. I think we are far more focused on mediocrity. Yeah? I know someone who actually had an amazing track record, but he was trying to get a job, and he kept on getting knocked back. And they were saying, well, you're overqualified. Now, to me, that's crazy. If Warren Buffett says, I'd like to invest your money, I'm not going to say you're overqualified. If I need some surgery and I go to a heart surgeon and he's the best in the country, I'm not going to say you're overqualified. You know, maybe if he charges some massive amount, I might say you're too pricey. But if he's charging a reasonable amount and he's phenomenal, I want him. Why is it that some businesses will actually say, no, we don't want you because you're overqualified? To me, that's just crazy. And so the question that I'd be asking you, or the question for you to ask yourself, is to what degree do you really seek excellence? You see, if you're competing in India, a lot of times your competition is a long way from excellent. So if you do a half-decent job, you can still compete. But if you're competing on the global market and it's not excellent, you probably won't stay in business. Yeah? You know, you may well be watching the conference today and say, oh, the power only cut out 2 or 3 times. In Australia, it's like, what? Jeez, we're there and then the power cuts out once? Imagine that. You know, you need a level of excellence in the service, in the quality, in how you treat staff, in the refund policies, in the procedures, in so many different areas. And if you do want to compete on that world stage, well, you obviously have to be at the level of the other players, and ideally more than that. So excellence is absolutely key. And a quick way to work out if you focus on excellence is that if you were going to, let's say, organize a conference like this, what questions would you ask yourself? Most people will ask the question, what is expected? What does everyone else do? Now, they're fine questions. It's a good starting point. If you aren't doing what is expected, if you aren't providing what people want, well then there is a problem. But if you don't ask another question, then I know you're coming from a place of mediocrity. And so the other question is, what's the best thing that we could do? Yeah? If I'm organizing a conference, I'm not saying to myself, or a talk, I'm not saying, well, what do they expect me to do? Oh, yeah, I'm meant to be talking about leadership, and yeah, okay, well, I'll go to the internet, I'll work out what people say about leadership, okay, 10 points to leadership, A, B, C. No, what I do is I say, what's the very best way that I can contribute? And I probably have some additional distinctions. If I'm working, I helped a major pension fund just recently, and the managing director was saying he believes that the training of the top management so changed their attitudes that it turned the company around. It might have gone broke, it is now going very well, it's hit the $1 billion mark. The different companies that I'm training, and sometimes it's customer service, sometimes it's teamwork, sometimes it's presentation skills, sometimes it's leadership. But the point is, I'm not just saying, oh, my job is to teach them on customer service, teamwork, leadership. Instead, I'm saying, what is it that if I could shift an element of thinking, if I could shift in some attitudes, an approach within the team, what would have the most massive effect for that firm? And so, if you're seeking excellence, then the question you always ask is, what's the best that's possible? If you want to develop yourself as a person, who are the best gurus that have ever lived? And you learn from them. Yeah? A lot of Christians put Jesus on a pedestal, amazing, wonderful person, which he is. But they don't take the next step, which is to say, well, how do I grow to be like him? Yeah? And if you have a guru and you're just going, oh, yes, oh, so wonderful, let me touch your feet, but you're not learning, you're not taking the words on board and a part of yourself, you're not really achieving much. Thank you. So seek excellence. This is a picture of J.R.D. Tata being awarded the Bharat Ratna by President Venkataraman. And you can see the article is called Believing in Perfection. The author was interviewing Ratan Tata. He knew him. He was a director of Tata and Sons. He said, every interview with Tata was an exhilarating experience. Each time I learnt something. I once mentioned to him, of course, sir, you believe in excellence. And he retorted sharply, not excellence, perfection. You aim for perfection, you'll attain excellence. If you aim for excellence, you'll go lower. So that's the sort of thinking that creates a Tata industry. That's the sort of thinking that creates amazing global competitiveness. That's the sort of thinking that enables you as an individual to lead the most amazing and wonderful, loving and happy life that's possible. And so ask yourself the question constantly, how can I grow as much as possible, develop myself as much as possible? If you don't do that, then you're not being very nice to yourself. And one of the things, incidentally, that I find, I don't know, kind of strange. India, of course, has an amazing heritage of gurus. And the king would have his own guru. So, for example, King Janak had Ashtavakra, and Vaishishta was, of course, guru for King Dasarath. So there was an environment in which the top leaders had a level of support in guiding them to be as successful as possible. As a mentor, as a coach, not just as someone that they came to for an hour, but as someone that provided a structured experience and process that worked at the deepest levels to transform the consciousness and the thinking and the approach and the ways of understanding things, the underlying values and frameworks of reality and concepts of the world of the top leaders, so that they could then achieve enormous results. And I'd love to talk more with people about this. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe that really exists anymore. You will have wonderful gurus that do talk occasionally with top leaders, and nowadays we're starting to see coaching coming up, but you don't really see so much of that deep level transformative work. And if you want to be amazingly successful, then you should find someone who has the understanding that they can actually help to create those conditions. That's why I developed the field of one-on-one leadership development back in the 1990s, because I didn't see anything else available. But at least in Australia, that's understandable because we don't have that heritage. In India, I would have thought you should. So then the next element is engagement. Engagement is about engaging the heart and the soul and the mind of your employees. What I'd like to do is a brief exercise. Is there anyone here who's looking for a job? What would be an exciting job to you?
I am always interested in financial activities, and I would like to be a part of a highly financial companies. And I just attended an interview in ENY, and such a big firm. I would like to make a start.
Is there someone else here who's looking for a job? Okay, so just one minute. Tell me what would be an exciting job for you.
Something that's going to keep me engaged, and something that I would love to do. Well, I'm basically a corporate trainer, and right now I'm freelancing. So I'm very passionate about training. So something that's going to help me meet people, talk to them, get to know them, and help them become better, that's going to be an exciting job for me. Okay,
terrific. So I'm not going to give you a job, but in about 10 minutes, I'm going to try and find the most exciting job. And at least if you know what would be exciting, then maybe that's a step ahead in finding it. So what I want you to do, this gentleman over here is going to guide you out of the room just for about 5 or 10 minutes. We're going to do an activity, then we'll bring you back. Yeah, okay, so if you take them. And so you need to make sure they can't hear anything, yeah? Maybe that means walking quickly as well. So with engagement, it's about, as the lady said, having a job that really engages, that gets you interested, excited, that has meaning, that has people really want to contribute. Are they far enough away? Do they look like they can't hear anything? It's okay? All right. So who here just loves sport? Who loves sport? Anyone? Yeah? What sort of sport do you like?
Cricket, obviously.
Cricket? Okay, come up to the stage. Pretend I'm not an Australian. Pretend I'm, from Mars or Japan or something. So tell me about cricket. How do you play it? What happens?
Cricket.
Oh, by the way, first of all, you seem pretty excited about cricket, yeah?
Yeah.
So is this just like, oh yeah, well, I can watch it on TV, or how excited are you?
I played cricket.
You play?
Yeah, not now, but then when I was young.
Yeah.
And pretty much, enjoy it.
Uh-huh.
I like the sport, the typical one-day stuff rather than the 5-day just series.
So how much do you enjoy it?
Sachin is God here. So.
It's God. Okay.
Right.
Sachin Tendulkar, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Sorry, what's your name again?
My name is Raj.
Raj, okay. All right, so tell me this cricket thing, yeah, what happens?
You know, cricket, you have a team of 11 people, and in one team, and it consists of batsmen and bowlers and a wicket keeper. You've got 6 stumps spread across, in 22 yards thing.
Right.
And there is a bowler who bowls, and batsman hits 4, 6 singles, twos, and at the end of the day, it all adds up.
So okay, let me just try and understand this. So okay, so there's like a kind of base, and you kind of go from one base to the other, yeah?
No, that's not cricket.
That's not.
No,
no, don't get tied up on base.
Right.
But just there's like a place you
Yes,
go, yeah.
yes.
And so you hit the ball, yeah.
Yeah.
And
you
this,
run.
Yeah. And so you run, and then what's this fourth thing?
It crosses something called as a boundary. You have a rope in there at the end of the field, and then it crosses that through the ground, and it's a 4.
So you get like 4 points.
4 runs.
4 runs. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. And all right. And so this 6th thing.
The 6th thing, it just crosses the rope without touching the field. Yeah?
Right. Okay. All right. And then so you hit the ball. What happens then?
You hit the ball, and it passes the fielder or something, and you just basically run and try not to get out. There's something called as an out in cricket.
So you go from like one place, and then you go to another place.
Yes.
And you have to do it like as much as possible.
Yes, you run basically.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And if you're in between like these 2 places, and
Yes.
the thing is delivered back
to somebody, and
while you're there, then you're
out. You're out.
set.
You go and sit in the pavilion.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Basically, it's
Okay. Yeah. All right. And like while you're doing the hitting, what are all of these other people doing?
they're trying to prevent you from running, making you out and stuff like that.
And do they do that like they tackle you or?
No, they don't do that. That happens in rugby, not in cricket.
So what do they do? Like most of the time, what are they doing out there?
These people try to prevent runs, try to hold
like
on.
most of the time,
Yeah,
what are they actually doing?
They stand and then watch
They
what
stand.
they do.
Okay, I think I get this. All right, so send in our job seekers. Yeah, send in our job seekers. Sorry, I'm revealing all your junk. You've been carefully hiding it, and now I'm revealing it. Okay. Yeah.
What do you want?
All right. So if the job seekers can come up here. Yeah. All right. Good. Actually, yeah. Good. So, all right. You can sit there.
Sure, thanks.
All right. Have a seat. Now, I think you can. So have a seat. I'll give you the microphone, but share it. So have a seat. Now, what we've been doing, we've been discussing engagement. We've been discussing how to make the job for your employees as exciting as possible. Yeah. So you're not allowed to say anything. Have a seat. Have a seat. And I've been discussing. Raj said that there's this job. Apparently, some people. He used to actually have the job himself, and he said that the people with this job. He said it's really exciting. He just absolutely loves the job. He said it's really fantastic. Now, so I thought, let me describe the job that he says is so exciting, and maybe that will give you ideas, yeah? So, look, so the idea is, most of the time, if you get this job, you just stand around doing nothing. That's most of the time, yeah? Okay. But that's not all, yeah? Because sometimes a parcel, like something gets delivered to you, yeah? And then you don't just stand, then you have to do something with the parcel, yeah? Okay. Right? Now, there are different people in the organization, yeah? So some of the people, what you'd be doing if you're doing that job, so basically, you kind of go from one office, yeah? It's like one base, one location, and you have to go to another office, yeah? Right? And the idea, you do it as often as you can, yeah? Because the more you do it, then, well, it's like the score for the company is better, yeah? It's like, they really like that, yeah? You don't seem that excited about the job. Why?
I don't know, I think
That's microphone, yeah.
I think that excites him more, but that
we have
doesn't look
lights?
too
Lights,
exciting
yeah.
for me.
Right? It doesn't sound exciting?
No, it doesn't.
Raj is looking like, but how can they not find it exciting? This is such an exciting job. Let me finish. I should explain a bit more, because it's not just that you have to go from like one, you know, like head office to the other office. And, well, sometimes it's a bit unusual. You'd think you have to carry a parcel, but the thing is, you have to deal with a parcel when it comes in, yeah? And if you're not in the office when the parcel arrives, like if you're between offices, then that parcel can create a lot of problems if it's not dealt with properly, yeah? And you can get sacked. So that kind of adds excitement, yeah? No? Sorry.
I think they just overheard what we talked. No, fine.
Raj is still saying, how come they can't think this is amazing?
Absolutely.
What I've just demonstrated is, it's not the job that counts. It's how employees see the job.
Absolutely.
And it's about the environment you create so that employees feel excited about that job. Yeah? The job that, sorry, what's your name?
Amrita.
Amrita?
Amrita.
Amrita?
Yeah.
Jamshir. Okay, Amrita and Jamshir. So you're like sweet nectar, yeah? So Amrita and Jamshir are listening to this job description and going, that's like the worst job in the world. And Raj is going, no, it's the best job, yeah? And so it's, if you create an environment where your staff are as excited about the job as this thing that we've been discussing, if they see it as a game, if they see it as something exciting and interesting, then they will give the same level of dedication that Raj gives. So when you did this job, did you get paid?
Yeah. Satisfaction is what the pay is.
So no money.
No money.
Right, so he was so excited about the job, he just did it for free, yeah? And now that you're not doing the job, you actually like just to watch the people standing around.
Yes.
And the people going
Basically,
from office
yes.
to yeah. So I better tell you before you die of like...
What the job is. What the
So
job is.
what we've been talking about, the job was playing cricket.
There you go.
Okay.
And so in cricket, which Raj used to play, see, that's the thing. You stand at one of the bases or the, you know, I called it a head office. It's a location, yeah? And something, a ball, you could call it a parcel, gets delivered and you have to get rid of the parcel and then you have to go to the other location and you do it like as often as you can. And you try to do that because if you're not at the location when the parcel arrives, well, then you're sacked, yeah? So, as you can see, we were describing something that millions of people love. Now, why do they love it? One of the things is, so if you were working for a company and you had to do everything, but you weren't involved, you didn't even know the score of the company, you didn't know how much they made, you didn't know your contribution, like if you were playing cricket and you didn't even know the score, how would that be?
It wouldn't interest me.
Wouldn't interest you, yeah? Okay, so one thing is to actually involve your staff with a sense of a score. Not from that sense of measuring and telling them off if they don't do it, but from the sense of, hey, let's see what we can achieve. Let's do the best we can achieve. If you're playing a video game or cricket or anything and there's no score, that's boring, yeah? And so you're trying to create this intrinsic motivation, a motivation that's a part of the person, rather than it being external. And you're trying to make it so that they want to do it rather than they have to do it. If you're saying you have to do this, no one's going to want to, yeah? So if you can make your workplace as exciting to your staff as cricket is to Raj, then you'll have an amazing company. And what you saw is, it's not the job. We just described the same job that Raj loves, and you're going, this is the worst job in the world, yeah? Tell me a bit more about what you were thinking when I described it.
I was thinking probably he was in some parcel service company or something, where he had to deliver parcels from, you know, one office to the other, and then, you know, do something of that sort. And if the parcel comes and he's not in the office, then, you know, he's not there to collect it, and then he's gonna get sacked. That doesn't interest me at all.
So, and you know, this even relates back to spirituality. A lot of people hear this talk about Maya, about Leela, the play of the gods, about emptiness. And they go, oh, that sounds a bit airy-fairy, a bit spiritual, a bit, you know, weird. Well, what it's really saying is, when you get to the point of non-attachment, when you get to the point that life is just a game, and you just throw yourself at it, and you just do what you love to do, and you contribute, and you love and you connect with people, and then it's like a game, yeah? Then life and your work is like the cricket game, and like Raj, you have a beautiful big smile, and you just love. When you went to play cricket, was it like, oh, I have to get out there? No. Excitement, yeah. So that is what engagement is about. A round of applause for our wonderful people. Thank you. So when it comes to engagement, to create an engaged workforce and to create engaged leaders, you'll remember His Holiness was saying that we are all leaders. If you can create your workforce to feel that they are leaders, then you'll have an amazing workforce. And so some of the characteristics of an engaging leader: emotional intelligence, as compared to the more common idea of a manager or a leader, which is rational, analytic, dispassionate, yeah? So the emotional intelligence has been found to make something like 85% of the level of success of a manager. It varies depending on the different studies. Sometimes it's more like 60, 70. But a huge percentage of success is determined by the emotional intelligence. The good thing is, the more you learn about yourself, the more you also learn to be a great manager. Typically, managers will direct and delegate, but then they micromanage. And so if you're micromanaging, okay, deliver the parcel, yeah, do it now, yeah, okay, over there, right, okay, it's about to come in, yeah, no, I think, get back, you know, that's not much fun. But if you're involved and you make the decisions yourself, now it has that meaning. And so you shouldn't be micromanaging. You need great communication skills, you need coaching and involvement. The ability to inspire, to bring out the best in others, to have them see their work as exciting. The sort of thing a typical manager might say is, I've said it once, people, they should just get it. Well, sorry, it doesn't work that way. Otherwise, we'd all be enlightened overnight. They're afraid of the soft stuff, the people stuff, and they have high ego needs. The engaging leader inspires, is authentic, and is humble. And then the third element that I think could be improved in Indian companies is empowerment. To create an environment where the workforce has the ability to make decisions. As one of our people said, where the leaders allow you to make mistakes. Not all the time, you obviously have to learn, but that they support you in growing. And so that's called empowerment, as distinct from hierarchy. So empowerment is about creating the conditions in which lower level employees have decision-making capacity. Now, you don't just say, do anything you want, and you give a branch manager the ability to spend millions of dollars or crores of dollars. No. You have limits, but within the role that that person should be doing, you enable them the ability to do it to the best of their ability without having to always check up on you. And you may need to do it a step by step So they get used to it, and they see that you really want them to. Now, an interesting thing, I kind of just asked my intuition and other elements as to, okay, what is it that would be the three main things that India might need to be more globally competitive? I was pleased to find, after doing that, that Ratan Tata was making many of the same points. And so we already saw J.I.D. Tata talking about not just excellence, but perfection. And I was noticing in a very recent interview with Ratan Tata, he was asked about the moments of frustration early in his career. He said there were many, recalling his first job in the foundries of telco, where when one asked why something was being done in a particular way, one was told, well, this is the way we've always done it. It's the best way. It's not that they thought that it's the best way. It's not that they calculated or they tried other ways. No, they've just always done it that way. How are you going to be globally competitive? How are you going to grow and develop if you just keep doing the same things you've always done? And if you create an overly bureaucratic organization, if you don't empower, if you don't give decision-making capacity, that's what will happen. He was asked, well, has that changed in the group now? Well, I've tried to change, said Tata. I've been constantly telling people to encourage people, to question the unquestioned, and not to be ashamed to bring up new ideas, new processes to get things done. It has changed to some extent. I'd be arrogant and lying if I were to say it has really changed. There are pockets which have changed, and there are pockets which continue to be just as they were, he replied. So even an extraordinary individual like Ratan Tata, who is an empowering manager, has the problem. What is important is to create processes and systems and training, not just your normal training that's like, academic, just telling you what to do, but the sort of training, like this, that makes it real and alive, to create that over time so that you grow people's capacity and, muscles, you could say, in being empowered. Because obviously, if you think you're likely to be sacked, you're not going to make the decision. So just empowering alone doesn't work. You have to empower and support and provide a process to make it. But with empowerment, with engagement, and with seeking excellence, with servant leadership, it is possible to get to the top of the mountain, to be a great leader. And so they are Tony Lenart's keys to global competitiveness. Thank you very much. You've been a wonderful audience.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tony Lenart. What an encouraging and inspiring session it was. Thank you very much once again.
Sri Tony Lenart, Memento Tony, it was so interesting.
Competition, see? When you come from a place of love, the world wants to give to you.
Radhe Govinda Hari Narayana.